Well, good morning everybody. It's Adam over at Acer21 Vlogs here. Adam Small Engine Repair, back in the shop again today. So what we're working on today is a 2005 Skidoo. It is a, I think it's an MXZ Renegade 600 Rotax HO SDI something or another. So it came in for a no start issue. It hasn't been run for, I think they said about 3 years. They broke a ski off it and they finally got around to putting a new ski on, and then when they went to fire it up, it wouldn't work. So we're just going through everything here. I was not aware initially that this model was a fuel injected until I got it in, started looking at it, found out it was fuel injected, so that complicated things a little bit more. So we started digging into things here, and you can see behind me, it's pretty much in pieces here. Really had to dig this thing apart to get into it here. Obviously you can see I've already got dirt all over me from working on this darn thing. And then I got a couple other projects back here in the shop to work on as well. So anyway, what we've discovered here was obviously the fuel was bad. It was so bad it was separating into layers. So we removed the fuel tank, we drained all the fuel, we put that into our bad fuel tank there for the fuel disposal, and then started working on getting the throttle bodies off, the fuel injector and fuel rails off of there, because this has 2 injectors per cylinder, which to my understanding one is a low side injector and the other is a high side injector. I'm not entirely sure what that means. I'm not a Skidoo expert. I usually work more on Polaris. So I think they said one of them is for more like when it's at an idle and the other is more for higher throttle or something. I'm not too sure. It's like a semi-direct injection, I think is what the SDI stands for. And then I think the Rotax means Rotax, I believe, is the brand of engine. But this is one of those ones where you just push the start button and it starts the engine in the other direction to put it into reverse rather than having a gear case. So on top of sitting for a while, this thing's in pretty rough shape, mechanically speaking, through the intake area. It has about 8,000 miles or so on it. So it's got a decent amount of use on it. I'm not sure that I would say that's necessarily high miles for a snowmobile, but it's up there a little bit. So anyway, let's show you what we got here. All right, so here it is. Obviously, like I said, it's definitely in pieces. I've got the supervisor over here just kind of supervising our operations, make sure we're doing our jobs around here. She does pretty good at that when she's not taking her nap. So initially what I found was when I took the spark plugs out for inspection, I was first off going to just verify that I had spark, because even pulling it over by hand, it would not work. I don't know that this one is an electric start model. If it is, the electric start's not working, so I gotta dig in more to that to see if this one does actually have electric start or not. So what I found was the spark plugs were fouled out with oil, but it was wet oil, so it wasn't burned oil, so that told me the cylinder was filling up and not firing. So when I pulled those out, I pulled it over by hand a couple times and it was just squirting the oil out. I mean, you can maybe kind of see we got some residue all around all this stuff here. So what we found from there is, let me grab my flashlight here. When I removed the intake, the throttle body isn't too bad, but it is a little dirty. I know you can't really see around there, but you can see maybe kind of how it's dirty around the throat there. And then I'll show you what the inside of this looks like, which if you can see that, yeah, it looks okay on camera there. It's definitely pretty grimy and nasty in there. I'm not even too sure what causes that, if that's a dirt buildup or if it's from sitting or who knows what. So I've got the one in the ultrasonic cleaner right now, just trying to get all that gunk out of there, and then this one will go in there next. We'll run it through a couple heat cycles and try to get that all cleaned up. So that's why I initially took those off, was just to get that cleaned up. And then upon cleaning that out, I know once again it may be hard to see down into here, but let's see here. If you look, you can see how it's kind of blue colored in there, or dark black. The left cylinder, which I think would be cylinder 2 on this machine, is plumb full of oil. And I can't get my camera in there, but if you can kind of see the comparison from here, that cylinder has nothing in it. It's much drier over there because you can actually see the wall around the crankshaft and then the piston and everything. Whereas this one, you can see where that oil level is just below the head gasket surface. I believe that's, or not the head gasket, that's the where the cylinder and jug meet with the crankcase. So I'm gonna have to find a way to get all that oil out of there. And based off my understanding, what happens is there's a check valve right here for the oil line on this cylinder, and then there's one on the other cylinder as well. And those can go bad. So you can pressure test those using a Mighty Vac. Sounds like it should only be around 3 pounds each. So it might be really hard because those gauges started around 2 pounds, I think. However, you can do it. But what it sounds like, I did do a little bit of reading online here to familiarize myself with this engine a little bit more, is the 2 cylinders are separate from one another internally. So that means they are sealed off in the middle, and then in the middle, it needs to be, the crankshaft needs to be slightly submerged in oil to keep the worm gear for, I believe, the water pump and the oil injection pump lubricated. And that takes oil out of the tank here, and you can see it's drained to about 3/4 of the tank, which is just below the feed line that lets it gravity feed into that cavity down here. So what people are saying is chances are that internal crank seal between the center cavity and this cylinder is bad. So we are going to call a customer tomorrow during normal business hours again and see what they would like to do. Sounds like the only way to fix this will be to pull the engine, take it apart, replace that seal. Chances are if I do that, I'll recommend maybe just a full rebuild with new rings and pistons and just do the whole 9 yards while it's out. Put it all back together and put it back in. And if I do one seal, I'm just going to go ahead and do all the seals. I'll do the check valves just to get it all done. So that's what we found on this. So if you've got one of these that isn't starting, or the crankcase is filling with oil like that, chances are it's going to be either one of your check valves, it could be the tank vent on the oil tank, some people were saying, or chances are higher that it's the oil seal on that crankshaft there. And I'm betting what happened is the seal probably dried out or something from sitting, and when they went to start it, it's let all that oil seep into here quicker than it's supposed to, and it's basically flooded it out as if it was getting too much gas and oil mixed together, and that's why it won't start. Because if I were to pull the spark plug out, you can watch the oil just spray out of that cylinder. So unfortunately, it will be probably bad news for this customer. I don't think they will be very happy to hear that, but that's just the way it goes. So that's what we've got going on with this machine today. So I'm gonna go ahead and reach out to the customer tomorrow. I'm gonna see what they wanna do, if they wanna just stop here and not fix it, or if they wanna try to fix it, if they wanna do just the seal, or if they would like to just do a full rebuild, do the whole 9 yards while it's out and just take care of everything, make sure everything's all good to go. So we will see where this one's gonna go, but as for now, that's all I've got for this one today. Just a real quick video of kind of what to look for. And with that, I'm gonna move on to the Polaris, which I have over here. That is for the same customer that brought this one in, and he actually has 2 more snowmobiles once I get these done, and then a 4-wheeler as well that he's gonna bring in. So once I get these done, he'll bring those in. But I'm gonna work on that one next. It has a starter solenoid issue. The electric start is not working on that one. I just tightened up the shift lever for the forward and reverse because this has a chain case, and it changes forward and reverse inside the chain case there, or the gear case, whatever you'd like to call it. And it wouldn't go into reverse, I found out, so I realized that the linkage was just loose, tightened that up, took care of that. But it has that electric start issue like I mentioned, and then it also has a brake issue. The brakes don't work at all, so I need to go through that. So that'll be next on the list. But other than that, that's all we got for the night. Stay tuned. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.